Are you taking your medications on schedule but still feeling worse? It might seem like the medicine isn't working anymore, but the truth is, the real problem often isn't the medicine itself. Today, we're going to look at 7 hidden reasons why your medications might not be helping, reasons most people never hear about, but that can seriously affect how you feel. And most importantly, I'll share what you can do right now to start feeling better again. Let's start with something that surprises a lot of my older patients. How you take your medicine can be just as important as what you take. Most people I talk to assume that if a doctor prescribed it, the job's done. Take the pill, feel better. But the truth is, especially as we get older, our bodies don't work quite the same. Digestion slows down, stomach acid changes, kidney and liver function shift, all of which can affect how a medication is absorbed or broken down. And if you drink it with juice or coffee instead of plain water, or swallow it with food when it's meant for an empty stomach, well, you could be stopping the medicine from doing its job without even realizing it. It's not your fault. Nobody sits us down and explains this, but it's important and surprisingly easy to fix. I've been a pharmacist for 28 years, and I can't count the number of older adults I've met who were told they weren't responding to treatment, when in reality, they were just taking the pills at the wrong time or with the wrong drink. I remember Margaret, 73, from a small town in Pennsylvania. She came to me with a full list of medications and a worried look. Her blood pressure kept spiking, even though she took every pill her doctor gave her. We went through her routine together, and that's when I found out she drank her morning pills with coffee every day. Harmless? Not at all. Coffee can interfere with how certain medications are absorbed, especially blood pressure meds. We switched her to taking them with water before breakfast, and within a few weeks her pressure was stable again. Then there was James, 76, from Nevada. He crushed one of his pills because he had trouble swallowing it, not realizing it was time-released. He felt sick for hours. Once we found a liquid version, the problem disappeared. These aren't rare cases. They happen every day. What usually helps, and this is what I always recommend, is creating a simple written schedule, a printed list on the fridge, or even a small notebook on the table. Write what to take, when and how. With water, before or after meals, morning or evening. You'd be surprised how much of a difference that little list makes. If you ever feel unsure, your local pharmacist can go over each medication with you. No need to guess. Just remember, small changes lead to real progress. You're not doing anything wrong, but you can start doing things a little more right. It's not about being perfect, Innes. It's about giving your body the best chance to heal, and you absolutely deserve that. Here's another common reason. I see people struggle. The medicine might be calming the symptoms, but it's not fixing what's really going on. See, when you're dealing with chronic pain, fatigue, or digestive issues, it's tempting to focus on getting relief right away. And of course, you deserve to feel better as soon as possible. But what happens sometimes is that the pills you're taking are treating the surface, not the source. And that's especially important to know as we age, because our bodies respond differently. Inflammation sticks around longer. Stress affects blood pressure, appetite, even your sleep. And if the underlying cause is something like a lack of movement, poor nutrition, or long-term stress, then no medication can really solve it on its own. It's like taping over a warning light on your dashboard instead of checking the engine. I'm a family doctor, and I've had this conversation so many times over the years. One case that stayed with me was Robert, 68, from Arizona. He came in with worsening joint pain. His doctor had increased his pain medication twice in 6 months, but it just wasn't working. Robert told me he was still hurting, still tired, and now he was also having stomach problems from the meds. I asked him a little more about his days. Turns out he'd stopped going outside altogether because the pain made him afraid of falling. So he sat most of the day, didn't move much, ate whatever was quick. We came up with a different plan, short walks in the backyard with a cane, 2 minutes at first. We added a simple anti-inflammatory supplement, just omega-3 capsules from the drugstore. Within weeks, he wasn't reaching for the pills as often. And I saw the same pattern with Janine, 74, in Colorado, long-term headaches that didn't respond to medication until we addressed her diet and lowered her caffeine. Headache was a symptom, not the cause. Once we worked on the cause, the medicine finally started helping. One of the most helpful things you can do is ask your doctor a different kind of question. Not, what else can I take? But what else can I do? Can we look at my meals, my stress, my movement? Would physical therapy help more than another prescription? You don't have to stop your medication, but you can ask how to help your body respond better to it. You don't have to be perfect, but your body still listens to what you give it. Food, rest, movement, kindness. Even small shifts can start to calm what pills alone can't fix. You deserve to treat not just the pain, but the person carrying it. Another thing I see more often than most people realize, one medicine might be blocking another without you even knowing it. When you're taking more than one medication, especially as you get older, they don't just work independently, they interact. And some of those interactions can cancel each other out, or even create side effects that look like new health problems. I've seen folks being prescribed pills to treat side effects that were actually caused by the first pill. It's more common than you'd think. As we age, our kidneys and liver slow down, so medicines stay in our system longer. That means the chance for one drug to interfere with another goes up. And the more pills you take, especially from different doctors, the more risk there is that something's not working like it should. But here's the thing. This isn't something you're supposed to figure out alone. It's your right to ask someone to take a second look. I remember a woman named Gloria, 76, from Texas. She came into the pharmacy looking pale and unsteady. She said her appetite had vanished and her head felt foggy most of the day. Her doctor had just switched one of her heart medications a couple weeks earlier, thinking it would be gentler. But instead, she was losing weight and barely able to finish a meal. We pulled up her medication list, and I noticed something right away. The new heart pill was interfering with how her body absorbed another critical medication she'd been on for years. That older medication wasn't getting where it needed to go, and her body was showing it. I called her doctor directly, explained the conflict, and within a week, they had adjusted the doses. Gloria came back a month later, smiling, stronger, and finally eating again. Another patient, Bill, 79, from Oregon, had been on 2 medications, one to help his sleep and another to manage his blood pressure. He kept waking up dizzy, thinking he was just getting older. Turns out, the sleep pill was spiking his heart rate at night, pushing his pressure up and making the blood pressure pill work twice as hard. Once we caught it, the doctor switched him to a better combo, and the dizziness stopped. What often helps is setting a reminder every 6 months to sit down with your primary doctor or a pharmacist you trust and ask for a full review of your medications, not just prescriptions but also over-the-counter supplements, vitamins, anything you take regularly. You don't have to come in with a full medical background. Just bring your list and say, can we make sure everything here still works together? It's not a sign of confusion or weakness to ask for help with this. It's a sign of wisdom. You can't always remember every detail, but you can always ask someone to double-check. And sometimes that checkup is exactly what puts you back on track. You don't need to carry the whole load by yourself. Here's one more thing I wish more. People over 60 knew. Sometimes you're being treated for the wrong problem entirely. When you're not feeling right, it's natural to trust the first explanation a doctor gives, especially if it lines up with something familiar like anxiety, aging, or mild depression. But what I've seen again and again is that some symptoms, like fatigue, memory issues, low mood, or even dizziness, can come from unexpected places. As we age, the body doesn't always show textbook signs of illness. For example, a vitamin deficiency might look like depression, or a thyroid problem might mimic memory loss. But once a diagnosis is made, many people stop asking questions. And that's where issues can drag on for months or years without real progress. If the treatment isn't helping, it doesn't always mean the condition is chronic. It might mean it was never the right diagnosis in the first place. Let me tell you about Frank, 71, from Illinois. He came in with his daughter one afternoon, looking exhausted and frustrated. He'd been told months earlier that he was dealing with late-onset depression. He felt down, had trouble focusing, and didn't want to eat. The antidepressants didn't help much, so his doctor kept adjusting the dose. By the time I met him, he had almost no energy to hold a conversation. But something didn't sit right. I asked about his nutrition, and it turned out Frank had been eating mostly toast and coffee for weeks because his appetite was gone. That raised a red flag for me. We ran a basic blood panel, and the results were clear. He had a serious vitamin B12 deficiency, something very common in older adults but often overlooked. That one missing piece was affecting his entire system: brain function, nerves, energy. His primary doctor immediately started him on B12 injections. Within 2 weeks, Frank's energy was coming back, and by the next month, his daughter said he was cracking jokes again. I've seen this kind of misdiagnosis happen with thyroid issues, sleep apnea, even mild infections, all mistaken for something else just because the signs were subtle or didn't match the usual pattern. What often helps in cases like this is speaking up if your symptoms don't improve. You're not being difficult. You're being honest. If a medication isn't helping or you feel worse, you have every right to ask for a second round of tests or a referral to another specialist. You can say something as simple as, "Can we make sure we're treating the right thing?" A good doctor won't take it personally. They'll respect your care for your own health. Your body isn't trying to confuse anyone. It's just sending signals in its own way. And if something still doesn't feel right, that doesn't mean you're being dramatic or unreasonable. It means your body's asking for a closer look. You have the right to be heard and the right to feel better. Let me tell you something. Simple but easy to miss. Your medicine can only work if your body has the fuel to carry it where it needs to go. As we get older, our appetite often changes. You might feel full faster, skip meals out of habit, or just not feel like cooking anymore. And it's easy to rely on toast, crackers, or coffee just to get through the day. But the truth is, your medications don't work in a vacuum. They need certain nutrients and enough hydration to be absorbed and transported in your body. Without that support, especially protein, certain vitamins, and water, even the best prescription might not do what it's supposed to. Think of your body like a delivery truck. The medicine is the package, but if there's no fuel in the tank or a blocked road, that package might never make it where it's needed. I've worked in nutrition for over 20 years, and I've seen this pattern more times than I can count. One woman I worked with, Linda, 69, from Montana, came in because she was feeling weak and dizzy most mornings. She had been taking several medications for arthritis and high blood pressure, but she told me they didn't seem to help anymore. I asked her to describe her typical day, and she said she usually had coffee for breakfast, maybe a piece of toast and sometimes a snack in the afternoon. That was it. No wonder her energy was gone. Her body had nothing to process the medication with. I suggested we start small, a bit of cottage cheese or eggs in the morning, and at least 2 full glasses of plain water before lunch. Nothing extreme, just enough to support her system. 2 weeks later, she told me it was the first time in months she'd gotten out of bed without that heavy, aching feeling in her legs. Another man, Joseph, 72, from Ohio, had been struggling with stomach issues and thought it was a side effect of his pills. Turned out he was drinking less than 4 cups of water a day and relying heavily on black tea and diet soda. Once he added real water and switched to light meals with lean protein, his stomach calmed down and his meds started doing their job again. One of the easiest ways to support your medication is to eat a small, balanced breakfast with protein, even half a hard-boiled egg and a piece of fruit, and to drink plain water regularly throughout the day. If it's hard to remember, set a timer or keep a small bottle with you wherever you go. Hydration and basic nutrition don't need to be perfect, just consistent. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs partnership. Even a little more care in what you eat and drink gives your medicine a better chance to help you. And you deserve that kind of support from yourself, for yourself. One thing that often goes unnoticed, your emotional state can directly affect how well your medicine works. When I talk to my older patients, they usually think of health in terms of numbers, blood pressure, cholesterol, sugar levels. But what we sometimes forget is that our feelings change those numbers too. Stress, loneliness, and grief aren't just emotional experiences. They actually trigger physical responses in the body. Cortisol, the stress hormone, can raise your blood pressure, interfere with sleep, upset digestion, and even make your cells less responsive to medication. And when these emotions become chronic, like after losing a spouse or spending days without social connection, they can quietly sabotage your treatment, even if you're following your doctor's instructions perfectly. Your body can't fully heal if your mind is in a constant state of alarm. I remember Harold, 74, from Florida. He came to see me after months of struggling with uncontrolled blood pressure. His doctor had already adjusted his medications several times, but nothing seemed to hold his numbers steady. We sat down and talked, and he shared something he hadn't told anyone. He'd lost his wife 8 months earlier, and since then he'd barely left the house. No visitors, no regular meals, no conversation beyond short phone calls. He was following his medication schedule, but emotionally he was completely drained. I told him something that surprised him, that his grief was probably making his medication less effective, not because of the pills themselves, but because of the way stress hormones were working against them. We came up with a simple plan. He'd go to the community center twice a week, just to be around people. No pressure to talk or participate. A month later, he'd joined the board game group. I saw him again 2 months after that, and for the first time, his blood pressure had stabilized. He said it wasn't the medicine that changed. It was how he felt inside, and I've seen that pattern with others too. Folks whose pain lessened once they reconnected with music, or whose sleep improved just by walking with a friend a few times a week. What often helps is making space for something that brings you calm or joy, and it doesn't have to be big. A short walk outside, 10 minutes of your favorite music, sitting on a bench where other people pass by, even chatting with someone at the store. Emotional health is physical health, especially later in life. Your soul doesn't just sit in the background. It steers the whole ship. If it's hurting, your body will feel it. But even one small connection, one reason to smile, can start shifting everything. You still have that inside you. Let it speak. Let me close with something I believe might be the most important of all. If you've stopped believing that things can get better, even the best treatment may not reach you the way it should. I know it's hard to hear that, especially when you've been through a lot. Maybe you've had a few procedures that didn't help. Maybe the pills made you feel worse before they made you feel better. Or maybe they didn't help at all. And after a while, it gets easy to shut down. Inside, you start thinking, why try again? What's the point? But the truth is, our mindset doesn't just affect how we feel emotionally. It affects how our body responds to healing. It's called the mind-body connection, and it's not some feel-good theory. We've seen it in study after study. People who hold on to a little hope, even a quiet kind, tend to sleep better, eat more regularly, stick to their care plan, and yes, respond better to treatment. The body listens to what the mind believes. If your mind has given up, the rest of you follows. But if you allow even a crack of belief in something better, the whole system can shift. I think of Nancy, 78, from New Mexico. She had been through 3 surgeries in 5 years, hip replacement, then a minor heart procedure, then a gallbladder removal. By the time I met her, she'd decided she was done. She told her family she didn't want to take any more pills, cancelled follow-up visits, even stopped answering the phone. When I came to her house as part of a community health outreach program, she barely looked at me. Her granddaughter, Amy, had called us because she was worried. I didn't lecture Nancy. I just asked if she'd like to step outside for 5 minutes and sit in the sun. After a long pause, she said, okay. It was quiet, but it was a start. The next week she came out again, then asked if she could walk a little farther, just to the park bench. A month later, Nancy was talking again. She'd restarted some of her medication. I asked her what changed, and she said, I remembered what it felt like to want something, even something small. Her body hadn't changed overnight, but her heart had opened a little, and that changed everything. What often helps is lowering the bar a little. Don't think about getting better or being healthy. Just think about tomorrow. Could you feel a little less tired? Could you make one call, take one breath outside, do one thing that feels like living? That's more than enough for now. You don't have to bounce back all at once. You just have to lean slightly toward the light. And if you're still here, if you're reading this, it means there's a part of you that hasn't given up. hold on to that part. It's stronger than you think. Let us know in the comments. Which tip was the most helpful for you personally? Or maybe you have your own experience. Share it. It might help someone else. If you'd like to keep getting warm, simple, and truly useful advice, subscribe and hit the bell. We're here for you. You're not alone. You're stronger than you think. And even if it feels like it's too late, life is still here. You just have to reach out and take its hand again.